It's simple, really. Great stories with a good cup of tea. It's the Tea with Mike Show. Please welcome to the Tea with Mike Show, Carlton Banks. Welcome to Tea with Mike, Carlton.
Mike, thank you so much for having me, boss. I really appreciate your time. Honestly, I've been checking out some of the amazing talent you've been working with and interviewing. I just want to say thanks for having me. It's brilliant. And I've got my tea with me as well. So,
I love
cheers,
it.
from across the pond.
Awesome. So, what's your favorite? What are you drinking in the teacup today? Tea mug?
Oh, so a day, because I do drink a few different blends. I like a green tea. I do love a green tea, but today English breakfast. Gotta represent.
I love it. So you're probably familiar with what I'm drinking. Also drinking a Yorkshire tea, very strong black tea. Taylor's Harrogate is the way to go.
Stuff. Hey, I'm pleased it made it out there because you're in Edmonton, aren't you, at the moment? You're in Canada, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in Red Deer right now. I spent some time also in Edmonton. But yeah, so there's only a couple of suppliers in the city, so.
You found them. No, lucky you. Whenever I'm in the States, because I often go to Denver and certainly West Coast quite often, I'm always searching, raiding the tea aisle, or the British aisle, and trying to find the kind of home comforts, the hobnobs, the teas, all that for good.
The baked beans sometimes, yeah.
Yep. You know it.
Jams. Yeah, and sometimes there can be quite a delay on the production line for those specialty items.
Yeah, I remember there was a shortage, wasn't there? What was it of? I think it was like either tea cakes or something. I was like, goodness, end of the world for everyone there, all the expats, out overseas.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in a place called County Durham. So for me and for the viewers, that's northeast England. So about 3 hours north of London, kind of geographically. Yeah. So I grew up, and I'm still here at the moment. I travel across the world when we're outside of the lockdown and the pandemic as such. But yeah, live based in County Durham.
That's crazy, actually, how close we were, because I was actually born in Northallerton, England, and I lived in North Yorkshire for the first 17 years that I was alive. Lived near Richmond, North Yorkshire.
That's insane, because I literally passed Northallerton on the train home today. We take trains out here, as you know, and yeah, it was one of the stops was Northallerton. So I tell you what, closer than you think. That's such a small world, Mike. It's crazy. It's great how we got connected, though.
That's awesome. So talk to us about Carlton the kid. What was some of your favorite things to do growing up?
Oh my God, I was into everything, Mike. Honestly, started out when I was younger, I was into sports in a big way. So for me, it was the footballs. I actually got into competitive swimming as well. And whilst I was swimming, I ended up finding my way to music, but I know we'll get onto that. But yeah, so there was a blend of, just like the teas, a blend of music, a blend of swimming, a blend of socializing, hanging out with friends and stuff at the park and things like that. And then yeah, I started getting into skateboarding in a bigger way in my teens as well. I was never the best at it. Two big feet, mate. Two left feet. So I wasn't ideal for the skateboarding life as such. But I certainly tried. But yeah, that all kept me busy growing up.
Nice. And so who's your favorite football team?
Oh gosh, well, we're not doing great. I think we finished 14th, but you got to rep the home team, right? I think I'd be called out if I didn't. So Newcastle United. I'll stay true. We never do too well, but no, I'm not going for the glory.
Cool, man. So I'll tell you in a second. But first off, so my dad was born in Newcastle, but he didn't end up supporting Newcastle because his grandfather was a big Manchester City fan, and so he was influenced by that. So first, yeah. I'm a Manchester City supporter.
All right, fair play. Hey, if Sir's repping the brand and repping the team, then I respect that. Yeah, I totally get it. Northallerton, though.
Yeah, I actually, it wasn't involving Northallerton, but I actually once went to a game where it was Harrogate Football Club against Manchester City, youth development under like maybe 21s or something, and you wouldn't believe it, but Harrogate Town actually won. Like,
wow.
So
some of the best football is played with the youngers, the younger ones. It's like the NFL, when the heart's in it and the money isn't there, they play the game, they play the sport the way it should be played. But no, I'm definitely an admirer. I love that. No, that's a great story, boss. Love it.
Yes. Yeah, so when did you first learn to play instruments?
Wow, goodness. So that was about 7, 8 years old. So for me, it was twofold. I have quite an interesting kind of journey there, getting into that. I mean, in short, I started my music journey about 6 years old. Like most drummers, we had a previous life playing a different instrument. So for me, it was guitar. Now, I'm not sure about yourself, Mike, but for me, guitar, I couldn't hack it. I was talentless at it. I couldn't play a tune to save my life. So my cousin first got me into it because my cousin Michael, he was a bass player and a guitarist himself. He's 7 years my senior. So for him, it was like, oh, try guitar, see how it works. I got the Christmas present, or unwrapped it. There is this brand new guitar. And went straight in the corner, played it for about a day. I think once I got a new year, Mike, it started collecting dust, and that's where it's forever stayed. But then quickly after that, started playing and trying different instruments alongside school. They had here in England, you do like ocarina, recorder, you do your kind of music in school, but it's just like low level, entry level stuff. And tried my hand at that, got interested in that, tried bass, tried different instruments, eventually settled on the drum set a little bit later on at about 7, 8 years old. And then that's when I started getting, the lessons off the, off my private tutor kind of once a week, which I was really fortunate to have the guidance of Rachel Hawksby. So she was incredible. And I was the jealous 7-year-old because, whatever she was doing, I wanted to be better, faster, stronger. And, I was hungry to learn the grades and hungry to get on stage, because I would see her play, the Friday, the Saturday, the Sunday, because she was in a successful regional band, and little old Carlton just saw her with that. And if I could be the roadie Mike, I would, so that's kind of my earliest intro in education around the music.
That's awesome. I know all about the recorder because I can play a mean version of the hot cross buns. And also in primary school, I also learned to play the guitar, and it's one of those those things in life where I'm like if I'd picked it up a few years later than I did, would I have played it for longer and become better? And so that's always a question that I wrestle with.
Yeah. So you're not a guitarist now, Mike? Is it fair to say?
I'm not a guitarist, but I am now a podcaster.
Love that. You pivoted. You didn't stop. You pivoted.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what we show our artists. No, brilliant.
So as you're growing up and you're exploring all of these different instruments to find what's a hit with you, basically, like, what did you learn about yourself along that particular journey?
No, that's a good question. Well, for one, I wasn't great at guitar, so that was the main lesson there. But I guess for me, it was, there was definitely kind of a rhythm behind, what I was doing. There was this energy. I always, put 110, 20% in everything I do. I'm not a half measure type of person. So, you go full into it, Mike. So for me, it was really just to be, it's hard to say, but I would just say resilient with the education side of it, because for me, it was something that I knew I had to learn. Like, it was something that, it did come naturally to start with, but the learning curve quickly came in. I was passionate about the grades. I wanted to just learn, by the book, by the letter or the note in our space. So for me, it was a case of, being resilient, hold myself accountable. Time management was a big one as well. School, balancing the rock and roll lifestyle with the primary school, the secondary school. That was a big deal, certainly around homework first. Always an important one, and certainly one my mum and dad instilled in me. But just plenty of life lessons. And as I progressed, I would say, managing a budget, social media, like we were talking about earlier, the drummer in most bands wears many hats. So for me, I was one of those artists, wearing many different hats, having many different roles within the band, and certainly that kind of fed back into building my knowledge, building my insight, building the experience out.
Awesome. And so are you self-taught on the drums, or have you taken drum lessons before?
Yeah, so somewhat of a hybrid. I did my grades up to about grade 5 and 6. By then I ended up going to university. So for me, it was something I always pursued with the guidance of an expert. So for me, it was Rachel. So yeah, always kind of taught privately. I always kept school and music as two separate entities, Mike. So for me, I always kept my studies as my studies, because I never wanted to see my music, quickly become a chore or, a to-do as such, or another class as such. So for me, it was important to say, you know what, I've got, the drum lesson to look forward to on a Monday after school. It's something that I know, once I get my homework done or something at the end of the week, I've got that. And that for me was important. But then obviously, like any instrument or anything, there's always the kind of home private tutoring where I do it myself. It's all on my own back. I'm learning, and then I get everything ready for the next lesson.
Smart, because I think, just going back to how I was learning to play the guitar in school, I started at the end of primary school into the first couple of years of secondary school. I think maybe where I failed slightly was because the guitar lesson would always be at a different time, like every single week, and you'd be missing a part of a different lesson to go to that lessons. And so, for example, if I was missing PE, right, it's like such a pain because you're in the middle of a PE lesson, then you got to get all the way up to the guitar room, and you could be like miles away, and then by the time you get back, it's like, why did I even get changed for this PE lesson?
Exactly.
Or if I'm in a drama lesson, I'm like, I love drama even more than playing the guitar, so I'm just gonna skip it, So you have to make your own decisions, and I found that I was literally not showing up to some lessons just because I preferred the subject that I was in at the time of the lesson, right?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And for me, that was it. I didn't want it to spill into the lessons I like, the sciences or the PEs or the English or the histories. For me, it was a case of, would that have then been at the detriment of my studies? And the other thing was, I could see the older students, getting the lessons kind of a year, my kind of year above. So I would see them and I'd be like, you know what, in my, my way, my journey, I did the right thing. But everyone's journey is different. I know a lot of, drummers. I know a lot of friends who did pursue this, the school lessons and they loved it. But I always saw it as, you only end up with 20 minutes, because everyone's, booked in, and, the teacher, if they're late, it makes you late, which makes them. So it's just this knock-on effect. And I said, you know what, I want to do it after school. That's my thing. That's my forte.
So the tea fact for the episode is black tea is one end of the spectrum as it undergoes the most oxidization process. So that produces obviously a more potent / stronger flavor. And then on the reverse side of that is white tea is at the other end of the spectrum, hence it being the least oxidized. And that comes from teahow.com, 100 facts about tea.
Brilliant. Happy days. Cheers to that, mate.
What was the first recorded CD or download that you bought, and what actually inspired you to buy it?
Oh my goodness. The first, actually, it was kind of I would say the first download I ever listened to was Wherever You Will Go by The Calling. I think that's a great song still today. I think great band. So for me, it was that song. That earliest memory would be that. Earliest album. Oh my gosh, in a store physically. That's a good one as well. I don't know, to be honest, Mike. It's probably something my folks enjoyed. A DC or a World's Best Dad. Or something like that, where they all have the compilations where there's 100 different bands, rock and roll. Very diverse kind of upbringing around music. My mum liked. Me mum, Geordie Way, liked the Take That, the Bay City Roll, the pop icons of the 80s and 90s and noughties, and and Dad was into all sorts, rock and roll, pop as well. definitely more out there, and that was kind of where, that was kind of what spoke to me a lot as well. But yeah, I would say, yeah, the calling, and I'm probably a world's best dad.
So what are some of the other artists and genres of music did you listen to when you were growing up, and do you still listen to today?
Yeah, so gosh, I listen to anyone and everyone, Mike. I listen to 30 Seconds to Mars, still love them and listen to them. I've really started getting into country, which is fantastic. I'm big fan. Marianne Morris, Casey Musgraves, big artists in the States. So for me, it was those guys. In terms of younger days, always anyone and everyone. Enrique Iglesias to
Oh yes.
gosh, The Who. I'm trying to think. Kings of Leon, The Sex on Fire. Rihanna. I like. Really, my music taste is, but I think that's the best way to be, Mike, is broad, because for me, I would listen to the Police and drum to those guys, and then Free and do like an All Right Now, and then go somewhere, a bit farther out, like for me, a Muse, and go and do like a Time Is Running Out, and sort of here, there, and everywhere, but so many. And I'm really at the moment, straight off the back of the Brit Awards last night, a big award ceremony like our Grammys, Coldplay. Love Coldplay. Love Coldplay's new track as well, which I think is fantastic. And I listened to a lot of Coldplay growing up as well. The Fix Yous, the Yellows, and then moving on to the Milo Xylotos, and obviously how we got connected roundabout way. It was cool to see Chris Martin join Clubhouse and do a guest feature on Top Voice this year, which was exciting. So it was nice and full circle,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I love like Ed Sheeran for the storytelling element. The one concert that I've been to that I wasn't working, because I used to work in the theatre and entertainment industry space, was Queen and Adam Lambert. That was a really an immense experience. Your Adele's, like when I was younger in England, the Kylie Minogues, the Robbie Williams, some Coldplay, all of those different artists. So yeah, a wide variety too, I think each artist or each band brings something unique to the industry, right? And that's the reason why they make it into a professional career, because there's enough people that register and resonate with their creative process and their work.
Definitely, and I admire Billie Eilish for right now, kind of as one of those standout artists that's really shaping, the new wave of music and the top charts, certainly in the States, here in the UK as well. I would say an equivalent over here in the UK being someone who's doing that, probably like a Dua Lipa or someone like that right now. I think that's a pretty powerful artist, and they're going a lot into the immersive, more exploratory kind of nature of music, like the VR and the AI, and trying new different immersive experiences, really to engage new audiences, to engage the fans in a different way that we haven't seen before, which I think is really nice. I start to see it, and you start to see it with like the Iron Maidens when they launched their beer brand, and I thought that was cool because it was a nice play, obviously rock into a beer, and I thought that was really, really a great move. And now you see with the likes of Billie Eilish with the VR, your different track, different room, you immerse yourself, and even on the entry level, platform, the grassroots, the up and coming artists, we're always kind of, advising and consulting with artists. And a real one right now is listening to music in your sleep. I remember a close friend, he launched his album and he was trying to earn money to go record in Nashville. And he said, listen to my albums when I'm asleep, when you're asleep, for the best possible experience. And he built an album around that and ended up through that generating enough streams, because you know how many streams you need these days with the Spotify's and the Play Store and things like that, to rack up enough to eventually get him a ticket out there to go record that album. So it's incredible stuff, Mike. And yeah, to your point, there's the Queen's, Queen paved the way. Really admire Freddie Mercury for all he did, and Adam Lambert taking the reins and running with it. Yeah, great band, grandfather's favorite. I love it.
Awesome. And talking about bands, I believe that you were a part of the band SRS. So tell us a little bit about the band and the experience that you had with that band.
So for me, yeah, great. No, absolutely. So for me, the band had a previous life. It was originally called the Little Giants. So it was one of the UK's youngest touring bands. So the singer at the time, and who I really became friends with, Jack, and they had a lineup change. So he's been playing guitar and singing since like 3. You see the baby drummers and the youngsters playing the guitar, and like they're coming out the womb playing an instrument, aren't they, these days, Mike? So Jack was certainly someone who was born with a guitar, someone who was born to entertain, and seeing him perform. I used to go and attend the shows, and eventually there was a lineup change and an opportunity to audition. Now, for me, that was a big deal because and like most of us as drummers, the humble drummer at the back, we don't want to overstep, overdo it, or get in the way of anyone else. I just wanted to have fun and be a part of something bigger than myself. So I said, you know what? I'll put myself in for it. And it was actually a friend who was in the band with Jack that kind of said, you know what, give Carlton a chance. Let's see what we can do. So it was me and a bass player at the time, Charlie. We ended up going in at the same time. We auditioned, got the gig. So first practice was over at mine, and yeah, we had a great run. It was about 10, 11 years. A couple of lineup changes along the way, but me and Jack stayed true through it all. And it was just the synergy, Mike, that kept us going. In terms of kind of why we lasted so long, I think was just, Jack understood me, I understood Jack, and he could play a guitar riff, and I would just lock in almost immediately, or vice versa. And we could communicate. Me not knowing anything about the guitar, like I've mentioned, clearly we've established that, and Jack not knowing much about the kit. There was a way we could understand each other, which I thought was really powerful. And I think it's hard to come by. So for me, it was something that kept me going and kept him going.
Fantastic. And so what did you learn from this experience in having that opportunity to play with this particular band and the individuals in it?
Yeah, for me, it was to take a chance, to take that leap of faith, to really like push yourself out there, try something new, because we're our biggest critics, aren't we? We just put ourselves down, we beat ourselves up, when really we should be the exact opposite, which is to be our biggest champions. Because if we don't have the confidence, how can we expect anyone else to, right? And that's the thing, especially entertainers, especially people, like even yourself with the podcast, Mike. I'm sure putting yourself out there, just going out there, being yourself, and having fun with it. That's the thing. There's a lot of serious artists out there which I completely admire. I love the fact that they're chasing their goals, but do it with fun in mind. For me, that's what it's always been about, and certainly through that is what I gathered from that as kind of a life lesson. Yeah, have fun with everything you do, but make sure you're doing something you actually enjoy.
Yes, and to your point, there's also a lot of serious podcasts out there too, right?
Yeah.
And there's a space for all of it. So, but for me, personally, I'd rather keep that personal level, and it might take 3 times as long to grow, but I've committed myself to that particular journey, and I'm just really enjoying the process and meeting amazing people around the world.
Love it. No, I checked out a few. I saw the Dom, your podcast with Dom, with Jake, and it comes across, and I love it. And and that for me is the same belief I subscribe to. It's just, being your authentic self, not try, when you try too hard, it comes across. And for me, it's just to be just pure, be real with the audience, because people don't want to see perfection. They want to see the authentic self. And that's what, that's why I was saying earlier, normally I'm the one interviewing the artists with the band and the brands, and and now it's the roles have certainly reversed on this occasion, which is really lovely. And it's something that I always say to them is just be yourself. Don't create a facade. Don't be chasing that, because the majority of people want to be real and be authentic and be yourself. So yeah, I love it.
Awesome. So can you tell us about some of the groups and the artists that you played and toured with, and how those how those opportunities helped you develop musically?
Wow. Okay. Brilliant. So, I would say a lot of the earlier artists we played with, and the bigger artists who went to the States with bands like The Silence, with bands like Vida. Gosh, they supported JLS, which was a big band out here on their 360 tour across the world, which was a really, really exciting thing there. And we got the chance to play the same stage as the Beatles had in Newcastle, which was an iconic venue, the Academy, the O2, which for me was just a moment to go, wow. So for me, it was just super full circle, because I used to go see bands play there and to then play the same stage as huge artists, you know, bands that I once attended, it was a lifelong dream. We shared the stage with the likes of James Arthur as well, which is huge because obviously he went on to win the X Factor as well. So yeah, just a number of different artists, and James Arthur's one that comes to mind because of his story and his journey about how he went from, you know, being in a band and really, you know, working hard and really staying true to his craft, and now, you know, coming back, having that second chance and pushing that album out, and you know, and it being, you know, acclaimed everywhere, and something that's been hugely successful for him in his career. It's the drive, it's the motivation to say, you know what, boy in Middlesbrough done good. You know, someone, you know, a drummer from County Durham can do great as well. You know, and that's been the motivation as well. And even now, Mike, the artists that we work with, you know, we work with, you know, hundreds of artists, and my inspiration's them. You know, my inspiration is because I spend a lot of the time now behind the lens in the office. I've played and I've had my fun, and now it's time to come back and give the artists the spotlight and give the drummers that we work with the stage. So for me, it's seeing the smiles, it's seeing the passion, it's hearing the stories and their journey when connecting with these artists. That just says, you know what, it's fuel to the fire. Keep going, keep growing, keep playing. So even now, I work with a DJ right now at the moment called Rob Orton, and he was signed to Universal and Sony Soho Square. So for him, he spent a decade out in Ibiza for artists, and he played in some of the top clubs and venues out there, like DJ Sammy, Ian Van Dahl, Pete Tong, you know. So yeah. So he's been around.
Pete Tong for the radio.
Yes, Pete Tong from the radio.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he's played with like he opened up for like Boy George because he does a DJ sets, and yeah, a number of great artists. DJ Sammy was on DJ Sammy's Heaven tour, which was huge in the early '90s, and then he went to the States, lived his dream, came back to the UK, and he's from the Northeast. And for me, you know, he's someone I certainly look up to, and it was a pleasure to work and collaborate with him.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey from school and to becoming a law graduate, and how being at law school affected your opportunities as a professional musician?
Yeah, I mean the transition, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I went to secondary school not knowing what I wanted to do with myself. You know, I had so many hobbies, so many interests, and that was the thing. You know, it was the opposite to not doing anything. It was, now I'm overwhelmed with choice, right? So I was still doing the swimming, still competing, still drumming, and all of that was kind of coming to a loggerhead right at the end of kind of secondary school, as we approach college. And it was, what do I want to do next? What's the next step? Now, there wasn't really a standout, you know, kind of topic or subject area, but for me, I was keen on a few areas: English, lit, language, history, RE, you know, philosophy, and the religious studies, just out of interest. I thought, you know what, that's something I can get my teeth into. So I ended up going onto A levels, and then again, just, you know, fumbling my way through, still playing with the band, still swimming, and then eventually, once I finished college, it was like, right, is it the band? Is it, you know, the swimming and the competing? And I was like, you know what? Music's always returned back time and time again. I said, you know what, I'm going to go for the music this time, and I went full pelt with that whilst I was still studying, and I knew I wanted to go to university. I'm one of the only people in my I was the first in the immediate family to get the opportunity to go to university. So for me, it was something like, if I'm going, I'm taking it, and for me, it was, you know, something I was passionate about, and you know, again, I had teachers going, what do you want to do? And I said, well, lit, language, history, RE. I don't want to do English, I don't want to do history, I don't want to do lit, and I don't want to do RE. I said, well, you know, I typed all of them in on Google one evening, and it said social sciences, law. And I thought, well, I haven't had the opportunity to study criminology or law or get into the kind of psychological aspects of profiling and you know, the real kind of forensic side of things. And I thought, you know what, that sounds really interesting. The right and the wrong, the good and the bad, you know, the understand the letter of the law. And I was quite interested in reading. And I said, yeah, let's see more about the degree. Ended up researching it, eventually applied, and then got into to my university in Newcastle, and went on to keep gigging. And then the first year I realized it was just such a step up, you know, from like anything I'd ever done before, and something that, again, I had to work for and had to earn and really put the effort in, put the work in. It didn't necessarily come naturally to me. And that was when the band was kind of, you know, are we going? Are we really running with this? Because we were touring, playing shows, things like that. But we hadn't give it the air to breathe. We hadn't give it the chance I don't think it truly deserved, because we'd never had the time to fully focus on it, because something always got in the way. And I didn't let that happen for me. I ended up, you know, meeting Rob, went on to work with him, you know, law school by day, partying by night. You know, the one once a week gig on a Friday turned into a Friday, Saturday, turned into a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then midweek, and you know, entertaining the masses, the university students, the people coming into the city. And that was it. Newcastle was a party town, a lot of life, a lot of vibrancy. So trying to figure out what was going on, burn the candle at both ends and such, you think it would never really work out. And ended up graduating with a first class degree. And for me, kind of music was there. And I said, what do I do? Because I've got the knack for it. Do I pursue law? Or do I do music? And Collision was always on the back burner. You know, we had started the brand in 2018. I had acquired it and taken it over from its original owners, who had been based in Australia. And I said, I want to give the brand a go. I want to see that go. I'll give it a year. And then if by the end of that first year after graduating it doesn't work out, I've got the degree. Let's go, you know, go full into law, fully into law. And yeah, I've been very blessed, very fortunate to make sure that, you know, Collision's kept me away from the law office and supporting great people. And you know, for me, it's the best place and best feeling in the world, Mike.
That's crazy. So Collision, like in the kind of in your thought bubble, was actually a backup plan, but it's almost the reverse. It's become your main thing that you focus on, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for me, it was always there, and you know, by time Collision was growing, I had already started university, so it was really during university where that switched out. It was like, wow, this is the first time in my life that I actually can understand and see it clearly, you know, clear as day, that this is growing and going, and I have an opportunity, I have a chance to jump on it and do something I loved. And that was the thing, Mike. I look back and I thought, you know, I love law. I love what it's about. I really understand it. But for me, do I want to be cooped up in a law office, you know, Monday through Friday, 40, 50 hours a week, bringing work home with me, bringing people's problems home with me, because that's the type of person I am. And I thought, you know what, or do I see people in their element, in their moment, in their hobby, in their passion, doing what they love and do what they do best? I'll take that any day of the week, you know, so that's why I did it.
Awesome. So tell us about how you got involved with the DJ scene and how you did some collaborations as a drummer with some DJs.
Yeah, that's wild. So obviously, like I've mentioned, obviously me and Rob got connected somehow, and you know, the story was starting a bar. So literally, I walked into a venue that he was actually DJing at. In the city, a really well-known bar, and it was a party bar, you know, one of these beer keller kind of Bavarian themed war, you know, standing on the tables, dancing on the benches, and it was just kind of like after school or after uni, and I said, you know what, this looks cool, and there was a drum kit set up at the front, and I kept eyeing it up, and they were passing the electric guitars around, everyone was going for it, and I thought, you know what, that is a drum kit, there's drumsticks there. I'm gonna go see what I can do, and you know, the Art Garfunkel was playing, and the you know, and the Paul Simon, you know, You Can Call Me Al, and I said, look, I said I can drum, and it was Rob behind the DJ booth. I went up to him, and he was like, yeah, they all say that, and I said, no, I can play, and I think he just saw the sincerity in my eyes. He said, you know what, you've got a chance, and I got up on stage. There was about 400-500 people in the venue at the time. He really packed, really busy, heavy bar, and yeah, got behind the kit, and it wasn't mic'd or anything, Mike, but really just went for it, you know, and just played, you know, no in ears, nothing to go off, just the feeling, you know, the raw feel, the raw emotion, and just went, and the owner of the organization who owned all the properties and all the venues was in. And Rob went over and he was like, is he part of the show now? Is he part of the band and part of the team? Is he working with you as a DJ? And he went, Yeah, he is. And I didn't know that, but after that night, I got the gig really, and that just happened just by chance, which is why I'm saying take that leap, go for it. And it was really funny, Mike, because once I finished, put the sticks down, I turned around, he said, "Here's my number. You're hired." And I said, I'm hired for what? And he said, "It'll all make sense soon." And I ended up meeting up for him for a coffee a week later. And yeah, I ended up working with, started working with Rob, and, played Newcastle, Manchester, Scotland, played shows everywhere. And, it started really working hard with him, and, working with some great DJs as well. And, and some of the likes that we mentioned, and just having fun with it. And that was a new area of music that I'd never done. The DJ, the drum, and that environment, that atmosphere where it was the beat to the trance, the beat of the feel, the beat of the EDM. And I liked it, and I went with it, and and it paid off. So yeah.
That sounds super cool. And I think that what the story that you just told really demonstrates about taking opportunities that are in front of you, and saying yes to as many different things as you can possibly fit in, and all about keeping it simple, don't overcomplicate it, and the magic of the world, path, create your path.
110%, Mike. Carve your path, because we're always in this comparison mode. We're always looking at other people. We're always worried about their dreams. We're always trying to chase someone else's dream. Chase your own dream. Ask yourself, what is it that I want to do with myself, with my life, with my hobbies, with my interests, with the people around me? And is that a true reflection of what I truly want? Some people may say, yeah, and that's totally fine. But other people, the majority, might say, you know what? We need a reorganization. We need a band meeting. We need a lineup change. So many different kind of band metaphors come into this, right? And that's the thing. And yeah, totally. It's all about chasing the dream and chasing the heart. But do it knowing there's always something else. And again, if you don't necessarily make it, you've tried. You don't want to ever look back with music on your lips. You don't want to look back, kind of looking back and going, I wish I had that time, I had that opportunity to play that gig, or be on that football team, or audition for that role in a a show or something. Just do it. Just go for it.
Exactly. And so, can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to become the CEO of a drumstick company?
Yes, and yes. Oh my gosh. So, long story short, ended up going looking for endorsements. It's and looking for partnerships, because for me it was a new world. My folks don't play drums or anything like that. Super supportive family, but not musically inclined, apart from my cousin. And I just thought, I need a team. I want to be a part of something bigger than myself, and I need the mentorship, the community support, all of that. And I said, well, there's a lot of brands out there. The problem I faced was there wasn't a lot of brands with a real person behind them, the voice, someone like me, someone I could relate with, someone I could learn from. There wasn't like a face to the name and such. So I said, well, you know what? I ended up kind of going with it, because that was the only option, Mike. It was either go right at that, that type of thing. Either go with it or you don't go with it at all. So I started applying to different brands, and I kept getting either, nothing, the tumbleweed in the inbox, or, no response. And I just started speaking to other musicians, and I found it to be a problem that was shared by a lot of musicians, a sense of not having a voice at the end of the phone, or not having, an exchange or dialogue or anything with a brand. And I thought, that's a sticking point. That needs to be, changing, or there needs to be. And I remember it clear as day. I remember reaching out to an underdog brand, Collision, which was based in Melbourne. And I had the chance to speak to the owner, and just remembering and recognizing that moment of what it felt to actually matter, to be the only person in the room, to have that voice, to have, the eye on you as such. And it was just a lovely feeling. I thought, I want to get more involved. I again, just like the band, auditioned or applied, ended up getting the endorsement opportunity. I was one of the, if not the first UK artist for the brand. So that was exciting, because again, uncharted waters, new territory. So a lot of kind of pressure, but it was a healthy kind of pressure behind it to really see it take off. Started promoting the brand left, right, and centre to all my friends, and starting to get sticks out there. And he started signing a number of artists, and then eventually I got a phone call of the previous owner, Dave, and he said, we're selling a lot of product here. I'm looking for a distributor. It's hard with shipping and things like that. Time zones, it's not ideal. So I said, well, I volunteer as, tribute, almost like, I will take it on. And he said, you know what, that could be the best thing. Yeah, because there was a few distributors around the world, but none in the UK. And I said, I'm bringing people like, the As It Is, the Hands Like Houses, the big names at the time, and certainly on the up and coming scene. And I said, yeah, let's run with it. So I got my first order in and started, really promoting the brand, and eventually, order after order. And then, the question of, well, what's going on, and eventually, long story short, it was just ready for his time to move on. He got headhunted for a role in marketing that he absolutely couldn't say no to, which was an amazing opportunity. And he was really convincing himself to either close the brand, which to me was like, no, absolutely, at all costs, or sell it to someone and merge it with another brand or something like that. And I said, well, what about myself? Let's would you be open to me jumping on it and taking it over and with the fuel and the fire in my heart, run with it and see it succeed and develop and just grow beyond our wildest dreams? And he said, yeah. So he took a chance on me, and I took a chance and back myself, and and having the support of the family, we ended up acquiring the brand. I brought it back to the UK, brought it home as such, but obviously respecting our roots in Australia, and started just really, really, really growing it and going for it. So yeah, it's a powerful story, and I think the motivation and the drive and the resilience was there to just see it through, to go from artist to distributor to owner, seeing it through each individual lens. That's why I feel I can relate with the artist so well, because I know what they're feeling. I know that emotion. I know what it's like to, the gravity of submitting that application, putting it all on the line, and not hearing it back, but they do with us. They matter to us.
Awesome. And so what have been some of the challenges about establishing the brand?
I would say the biggest challenge that I had to get over was understanding that I needed help. Like, for me, I was the chief everything officer, Mike. I'm not gonna lie. I tried to wear all the hats again. I'm one for taking a lot of the pain on forward, bearing the burden as such. So for me, it was, I don't need to expand the team. And it was actually my partner, man, my girlfriend, now Monique, she said, you need to grow the team. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I do. And making my first hire and starting that was the best decision I had ever made. And never looking back. And it was actually it did two things for me. Take outside help in terms of, seeing that 30,000 foot overview. It might take another person to see that, to bring clarity, because when you're working so much in the business, you forget what's going on outside the business and on the business, kind of the overview. So that was one. And the second one is just hire, build a team, devolve power, give the power, return the power back to the people, and it will just pay so much back in its, it's worth its weight in gold. It pays itself back in so many ways, and opportunities for them. It takes the weight off you to be able to go chase new business, to get your clarity back, to think big picture, and to go forward for the success of the company, the corporation.
Awesome, man. So how many people work for you right now?
The minute we have 4, hoping to get our 5th, which is exciting. Yeah, our 5th team member, which for me is just like a huge dream come true, because we're closing in on double digits, Mike. So it's exciting stuff, boss. Yeah, so we're having a lot of fun. We have a couple of interns, and then a dedicated team as well. As we base and try and expand ourselves to Denver and Colorado, that's going to be our next kind of big aim and goal. And yeah, we've got a distributor network in places like Norway and more farther out regions as well.
And so how have you been able to use some of the skills that you gained and developed during your law degree in being the CEO of this particular business?
Yeah, and for me, networks truly being the key. That was something that was instilled in us at law school. You've got to build your networks. There was a lot of socials, mixes, events. I went to a lot of business events, networking events that were hosted by a lot of the legal firms. I ended up, getting onto some pretty impressive internship programs, and seeing that the net, it was who, it was the power of connections to win new business, to win clients over, but to also make strategic partnerships in alignment with what the brand, the mission, the values were all about. So I would say that would be the biggest one of all, was the networks, but also the power of communication, the ability to convey your thoughts, your experiences, your insight to someone else on such a deep rooted, level that they truly understand kind of full context, what's going on, when, where, how, who, what, why, and see the big picture like you do. So for me, it was all about that and making sure that every artist, regardless of whether they went with us, decided to work with us or didn't, knew exactly what our core structure, our core principles, our value was about. So that looking back, they knew precisely who and what Collision was, and it still is, and that's something I'm particularly proud about.
More recently, I understand that you've also set up something called Collision Backstage under kind of the overall Collision brand. So talk to us a little bit about how that came to be, and also what you hope to achieve with Collision Backstage.
Yeah, totally. So for me, it was similar to the brand. It was kind of, I had to build it or, grow it to go find it, essentially, rather than, being a part of something, I had to go kind of make it for myself. And it's the same story with Backstage, Mike. When we started servicing a lot of our artists, making sure they were supported, they were served, they felt that they were getting a lot of value out of the sticks. Next came the questions of, endorsements, and we started building brilliant, and we still do phenomenal relationships with our artists. We're always looking for new talent, and whilst also maintaining the partnerships we have. And the same questions kept coming up. We do a quarterly check-in. We're one of the, if not the only brands who offer any kind of regular check-in meeting where, the drummers can talk about their updates, their goals, what they want, and they can get support that goes far beyond the sticks. So the same questions kept coming up in those meetings, which I and the team were a party to. And I said, you know what? And last year was a huge, huge transitional period for a lot of us as artists, as individuals, where we had to do a lot of reflecting and self-reflecting. For us, in the industry, as we know, we got hit really hard, and it was certainly an industry that lacked a lot of support on the front end. Gigs were cancelled, shows weren't going ahead, venues closed or were put out of business. And drummers left and musicians left not knowing what the future held. So what me and the team decided to do last year was, what we say, pivot rather than pause, rather than stop, drop, and just forget about, doing anything musically. Double down, get heavier, go involved, start looking outwards. And that was the thing. Same when most brands were looking inwards, we decided to look outwards. We started hosting events all throughout the year, Mike. We said, you know what? We're going to bring the party and the gig to you guys. We're going to have a drumming network events. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to have some round circle discussions. We're going to teach you a few little things, social media, networking, marketing, how to promote yourself, just some ideas, just trying to get some, planting the seed as such for that to grow and to go in different ways for the artists. And we expected 50, 60 drummers to turn up, Mike, across the country, or, certainly out the UK. I was praying. And when we put it out at the start of the pandemic, we had on average 250 artists, book on, join us from about 70 different countries. And
wow.
For me, it was like, wow. Yeah. So I said, there's something here. There's, just like the brand, there's something going on here. There's an opportunity here. And it's give the fans, give the artists, give the drummers what they want, serve them up with what they're, looking for. And we got a lot of feedback off the back end of that, networking, sharing ideas, exchanging information, clients, opportunities, collaborating like we'd never seen it in the community. And, we just said, you know what, rather than do this once every quarter or every other month, why don't we do this every week? So we decided from, last year to really, after the first couple, to start carving out a platform, an online community, a membership community designed for the artists to learn, collaborate, and grow. And that's what we see today and acknowledges Collision Backstage. So, and the success from that is dedicated to the artists, the fan, the real heroes of our story as such, because we couldn't do without them. And we're always in this feedback loop of learning, listening, but being responsible with that feedback and actually implementing and executing. So we've pivoted a few different times within the brand. And yeah, so essentially Backstage is modules, teaching artists the 5Fs, the secret sauce as such, our end, market and monetization of music. We have, guest experts, Grammy Award winning artists, people who've lived it and breathed it, because we don't know everything. And it's just a nice gathering every week. We have a few workshops, and just a nice platform for everyone to connect and grow.
And so what makes the Collision brand and its kind of business model unique to maybe some of the other competitors out there in your particular industry?
I would definitely say, Mike, the community and the dialogue. Because, for a lot of artists that we connect with, we are the first voice that they hear. You know, we're the first brand that's ever, you know, decided to network with, you know, and connect with them rather than the other way around. Often, you know, it's you know, brands don't go to, you know, the artists go to the brands, and we're trying to change. We're the underdog in the space, you know, and up and coming, and we've quickly grown into, you know, the UK and Europe's largest drumstick brand, which for me is just a true honor, because for me it was never being about the biggest, it was just always be the best at what we did, you know, just like you know, with the artists, whether we serve 1 or 100, you know, fans of the show, we still play the same show, right? We still give it our all. It's the same ethos that I have with the brand, whether we serve 1 or 100 artists. It's to be truly the best brand we can be out there. So yeah, it's a number of different things. It's you know, and the success for me and the passion is to just keep moving forward with it, and the motivations are there because, you know, the artists keep coming back and they keep coming back for more. So we've got to keep performing as such and keep making sure we're there for them.
So it sounds like you're, as we've established throughout your story and your journey so far, a very busy person. So what do you like to do to kind of relax and rewind? Because obviously mental health and also physical health is super critical, especially now more than ever, right? With everything that's going on in the world.
Definitely, Mike. And you know, and last year taught us that, you know, we need to look after ourselves. We need to do, you know, get out there, you know, go for a walk, clear our head. And that's what I'll do. You know, I adopted earlier this year the Pomodoro method, where I would just have, you know, 25 minutes on doing some work and then 5 minutes off, go have a break, go get out the room, take a walk, you know, listen to music, go for a drum. You know, for me, I'll put a podcast on, you know, a Joe Rogan, a Tea with Mike, you know, and you know, someone I you know, really resonate with and align with, you know, a Patrick Bet-David. You know, I like to, you know, stay up to date with the news and things like that. I like to stay informed, but have different perspectives. So I have a well-rounded approach to the news side of things. But yeah, this my love and my passion and kind of my downtime is spent in, you know, in many different ways, and most importantly of all with family, friends, loved ones, you know, making sure that we spend a lot of time with the family, because I'm a really big family person, and it clearly oozes into the business, you know. So yeah, just shared dialogue, a lot of different things, I think really makes the you know, the mission greater and keeps my head clear.
So what's next for you personally and for your brand?
So for me, it's going to be doubling down, you know, as we get into, you know, the midst and the middle of 2021, you know, as we quickly approach 2022, which is just mind blowing. Again, another year closing. We want to make sure that we're just growing, you know, like never before. You know, we're expanding the team, we're expanding the roster. It's my aim to get 1,000 artists endorsing our brand, you know, by 2025. So that's a big motivation, because these artists have a finger on the pulse in the communities that they're playing. You know, I can't be in 25 different places at once, and I can only split myself so many ways. So it's having a team there to be able to help support these artists, so that if a phone rings, it's picked up. If an artist needs support, it's answered, and they have their calls heard as such. So that's my goal. You know, just making sure that we're always bringing up the artists who need that extra support as well, never leaving artists behind, and just making sure everyone has what they need when they need it. So for me, that's that. Success to me is defined with the time I spend again with the people that matter to me the most as well. So making sure that I have time to travel once we're out of all this madness, and, you know, go see the world and what incredible cultures around the world. And yeah, and with Backstage and the Mastermind, we're launching just, you know, continue to expand the service side, because it's clearly something that our drummers are looking for and something that we're incredibly passionate about. So who knows, a few more subsidiary brands might be coming as well, Mike. So there's a lot in store for Collision, a lot more products to come as well. There's plenty to get involved in, mate. A lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, and plenty of tea.
And so finally, what's one piece of advice that you'd like to pass on to anyone there?
Yeah, so I would just say something I mentioned earlier is to pivot rather than pause. You know, right now a lot of people are suffering, a lot of people are struggling, you know, and I definitely understand that and I appreciate that. But, you know, if you're one of those individuals that, you know, is sat there going, you know what, you know, I'm wanting more. I could do better. You know, I know I can. I want to really get out there. You know, 2021, you know, wasn't my year, but 2021 doesn't have to be. You know, the plan, the new model, you know, we might need a new plan. So go out there, chase your passions, chase the things that you enjoy in life, and just have fun. That's the thing. I think we need to get back to having a lot more fun as well, and lean on the people that matter to you the most, but don't lean on toxic people. Lean on positive people. Lean on the people who are going to help level you up. So I hope you guys can unpack that, because I know there's a few in there. Over deliver, Mike.
Nice. And so all that's left to say is thank you so much for being on the show today, man.
Mike, blessing to you, sir. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for all you're doing for this wonderful community. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, God bless you, sir. And blessings to everyone who's watching as well. Thank you.
It's the Tea with Mike show.